Meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. As we look at the agenda, to item A2, I'll be looking for an approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Director Boyko, Vice Chair Duguay, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving to disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest. Do I see any? I don't see any at this time. If any arises, please advise the chair. We do not have any delegations this evening. That moves us to item A5, our 2024 -065 minutes from the meeting held November 21st, 2024. We had a couple grammar and spelling amendments that have been made on our minutes for November. Can we get a motion to approve those minutes? Director Baldwin, Director Wilford, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Was there any business arising from those minutes?
None, Mr. Chair.
Mercier, thank you. That moves us right along to category B, and we're going to go B1, 2024-006, our 2025 amended fee policy and schedule. And I'll pass this over to our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, following our process, our annual process, the draft schedule was brought to the October board meeting and approved for distribution. It was posted and circulated. And in front of you is an amended schedule on two parts, Mr. Chair. One is to include a fee for data and information requests. We have historically been charging this, and through discussions with other CAs, they include this in their schedule. So we're now just, again, being compliant with the legislation that any fee or charge is included in the schedule. And the second component to the amendment is since the agenda was posted, all conservation authorities were circulated correspondence from the Minister Smith, around freezing the planning and permitting fees for 2025. So that change has been made in the attachment to this report, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? Director Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Jeanette, for the report. I know that we talked about this at our October 17th meeting, but I don't know if this particular point was raised. And when I read through the report again, it jumped out at me. I wanted to ask. On page 6 of the Appendix A, the proposed fee policy, on page 6, 2.1.1.1 talks about reconsideration based upon ability to pay. It's also mentioned again in the in C. So that's a really slippery slope. And I wondered, how exactly do we determine if someone gets relief from a fee due to ability to pay?
Thank you, Director CAO.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So at this point, we've never had a request that has been determined made on this principle. We've had requests based on other principles, but not on the ability to pay. Generally speaking, the requests have been all nonprofits to date, and so at this point, it does come back to the justification that one would include highlighting this ability to pay. So we haven't tested this theory, Director Taylor, if you will, in terms of how we would test whether somebody has the ability to pay. It's all just been nonprofit organizations that have made a request except for one, and that I should correct myself. There was one request last year with respect to do a developer who obviously did not meet this test in terms of things.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, as a CAO, Jeanette, are you comfortable leaving it in there and hoping we never have to use it? Or is it something that could potentially create a problem for us?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I am comfortable leaving it in there. In general, it does speak to the legislation around somebody's ability to pay. And if it was, again, an individual or there was a test, I do have some ways that I can test it in terms of their ability to pay. So my recommendation would be to leave it and cross that bridge when we get to it. If I deny anything through this policy, again, the legislation does speak to that there can be an appeal to the board if they want to appeal my decision.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm satisfied with that. I wanted to ask the question, but I'm satisfied with the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Black?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Chair. Just a question with the reduction in the fee schedule or the return of the fee schedule to last year's amounts. Is there a significant impact on the budget at all? I can't imagine there is. The increases weren't large, but there will be obviously an impact on budget, but I'm assuming it's not very large.
It is not very large, since CAO will be able to.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you are correct. There isn't a significant impact overall. And with respect to the planning and permitting fees, they were, we had proposed a 2% increase, but in fact, these are actually our 2023 rates. And we did not increase the revenue, the gross revenue in the proposed budgets, just wanting to make sure we got out of the freeze first before we started building those revenues into the budget process. But all the other revenues are minimal and overall with just a 2% increase.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Ashmore? And if you could just unmute yourself, please.
Yep.
There we go.
Thanks. Through you to Mr. Chair, to Jeanette. As far as the filming fees, do other conservation authorities charge similar fees? I'm just trying to find out whether this is a new fee or whether this is something that's across the board with other conservation authorities. I know at City Kawartha Lakes we've been trying to get a film studios, trying to attract Netflix, Prime, and Paramount. We're trying to get them to come to Kawartha Lakes, and we're doing our hardest to get them out there. But when we charge these fees, do you find that prohibits or that prevents a lot of these companies coming and setting up their filming? I know they were doing a lot of filming south of Omemee at one time, but are these new fees, or just looking at that schedule, are these new fees, and if they're there, are they comparable to other conservation authorities in Ontario?
Thank you, CEO.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So they are not new fees. The board actually had made an amendment earlier to include those fees. And they are very comparable to what other conservation authorities charge. We, in fact, used models from other conservation authorities. We amended the schedule originally because we were actually being approached through two different film companies to film at Warsaw Caves. And some of you might remember Star Trek potentially coming and doing episodes there and things. So Warsaw Caves seems to be the highlight. And so that's that. We were doing it actually in response. We as staff are not out soliciting filming companies. So this is in response to requests from filming companies to come to our authority and film. They actually were quite okay with paying. It was the writer's strike that actually stopped them coming at that time. So they will be coming to our Conservation Authority, and in particular with Warsaw Caves, and they're quite happy to pay those fees.
Okay, thanks. So that's what you had said at the last. So they don't have any issues with paying those fees. Generally, you don't get any.
No, Mr. Chair, they were quite aware of them when they were being recommended, and they were quite prepared to pay them. They did not seem sticker shocked at all.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Black?
Yeah, I can confirm that they pay. I rented my parking lot out to them in front of my house. They were filming in the house next door to me, and they're quite willing to pay well.
Thank you for that. Any other questions on our amended fee policy and schedule? Seeing none, the recommended motion is that report number 2024-066, 2025 amended fee policy and schedule be received, that the Board of Directors approve the 2025 amended fee policy and schedule as of January 1st, 2025, and that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to these resolutions. Can we get a mover and a seconder? Director Huntley, Director Black, any final questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Brings us to item B2, our item number 2024-067, approval of the 2025 operating budget and apportionment. And I will pass this over to our CAO to give us any updates on our budget process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, following our process, our annual process, at the October meeting, the board approved a draft budget for circulation and posting as per the legislation. That was done and circulated to all of our member municipalities. There were no comments received, whether they be from the member municipalities or from the public. From a staff perspective, this is a responsible budget. It is an increase from past years in terms of things, in terms of the actual percentage. So the proposed budget is being proposed at 7.74% increase, which represents $110,439, which is apportioned across 8 member municipalities. And staff did work hard on preparing this draft budget. So there is a decrease of operating expenses, but it also does have included a 2% cost of living for staff. The primary reason for this budget request is, again, the historic evaluation that we did with respect to our grants that we received in the watershed management program. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Seeing our budget again in front of us, is there any questions from the board? Director Huntley?
Through you, Chair. And not so much a question, just more of a comment. Like I know that this budget is, we're not looking at capital on this one, it's going to hold steady, but we can only do that for so long, right? Like there will be capital that will come our way and we'll have to deal with. And I guess through the course of the year, Jeanette, it might be good to kind of like have a running list of things that might be coming at us, because I'd hate to see next year us not like if we don't put anything in capital this year, next year having 2 to 3 times the capital requests of normal. At least we can see it coming, I guess, is kind of my request.
CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, absolutely, Director Huntley would not want to surprise the board, and I do actually have some reports that I'm planning for the first quarter of next year, so that there can actually be some forecasting over more than 1 year in terms of things. So, duly noted.
Thank you. Any further questions? Director Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm trying to download the budget here as we're speaking. My Nexicom high speed is is rather overwhelmed. If it doesn't finish soon, I'll just try to ask the question. It's getting close. But Jeanette, I know that when our municipality went through our budget process, there was a question raised about the ORCA increase, and you provided some information that was very helpful. Thank you. But in the budget, and then it finally just downloaded in the budget, and I believe it is, yes, it's on the 1.0, the overview. This is more of a technical question than actually budget related. I tried to copy that particular page so I could forward it to all of my council, because it does give a good summary as to why we have a substantial increase this year. But it would not let me copy that. Is that because I'm a technical idiot, or is there some sort of protection there that I can't do it?
It may be in the format that we're seeing it that you're not able to highlight, but CAO perhaps.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So it's just it really is the format system that we used to produce this budget book in terms of things. So and would never use that phrase in terms of things. But
you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't. I did.
Yeah. I'm happy. I mean, good feedback in terms of the accessibility of the document. But I'm also happy to provide any single pages and to member municipalities. We did separate out the budget book and the actual apportionment table and the actual budget itself when it was sent, but not page 7, which is the year-over-year summary in terms of things. So if you wouldn't mind, I mean, this is a perfect example for all members of council. Had this question been asked to me in advance, I would have had the information ready at our budget meeting, but it was just dropped on me. I didn't have the answer. I said I'd get back to them. So I provided the information you sent, which again was helpful. I would like to send this page if I could. Would you just forward me this page, Jeanette? And I'm going to send it on to all of my council members. We have the budget. When you came with the presentation, and the ORCA's budget is online, it's there, but that particular page, I'd like to highlight it and bring it to their attention. I'm happy to do so. Not certainly. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Ashmore?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to Jeanette. Just a question on page 7 of 28. Under project-related expenses, it's one of the few items that we reduced. In fact, we reduced them by 50%. Could you just briefly explain what's in that category, project-related expenses, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So again, that line is pulling from all of the programs, but the major change is with respect to our floodplain mapping. So we did a lot of floodplain mapping, and we received significant FIMP grants in terms of that project-related expense.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, that's good.
Thank you, Director. Any other further questions regarding the budget? Don't see any at this time. I'm going to pass this over to CAO. We have a weighted vote for this part of our agenda, and staff will lead us through. It will be a recorded vote, and then they will determine the apportionment and weights.
Yeah, the weights.
Sorry.
Yes, yeah, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If directors can just indicate yay or nay, or yes or no, that would be helpful. Director Baldwin, how do you vote?
I would vote yes, Jeanette.
Thank you. Vice Chair Duguay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Boyko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Black, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Wilford, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Huntley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Ashmore, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Taylor, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Chair Metcalf, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
That
And
makes
our-
the calculation easy.
Our
Um,
manager of corporate services is going to, who has the actual budget book or budget document, will announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, the budget has passed.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
So our budget for 2025, as presented for Tonabee Region Conservation Authority has passed. Thank you, everybody. That moves us on to item B3, 2024-068, our borrowing resolution. And again, I'll pass this over to our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as working through some former resolutions that the past boards had made and also evaluating our financial position, I am recommending that we lower our borrowing limit. Right now, it's currently sitting at $1 million, which has been in place since 2018. And of course, if there's any changes to that, then staff will obviously bring that forward. This borrowing has been in place since 2018 and has never been used, has never been required to be used. And at the time, there were a number of capital projects that the authority was working through. So staff are recommending that we lower the borrowing limit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, CAO. And if I remember historically correctly, and Director Taylor and Director Huntley would be able to let me know, that borrowing was set there because we had quite a large project that we were working on just before, in around that time that we've completed. I believe it was in Director Huntley's area.
And it was a damn fine project.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions on the report? Seeing none, the recommended motion is that report 2024-068 borrowing resolution be received and that the board of directors approve reducing the authority's borrowing limit to $500,000 and that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to the resolution. A mover and a seconder. Vice Chair Duguay, Director Huntley, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. That brings us to category C, reports for information. C1 is 2024-069, our CAO monthly activity report. And again, I'll turn it back over to our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the report is before the board. I do want to just clarify one thing if I can, Mr. Chair. So the Byersville Creek floodplain mapping, which staff have been working on, is now ready to go to a public information center, a PIC, and we're looking to do that in January of 2025, not 24. Staff have been working very closely with the City of Peterborough staff on this, and so that they are also fully aware of this. And so we're looking to go out to do public consultation on this in January and anticipate bringing the final floodplain mapping back to the board in February for approval. Following that, Mr. Chair, then we will go back out for the second remainder piece of Jackson Creek in February, come back in March in terms of things. But that's, the board has already approved a PIC for Byersville. And so now this is really to advise you that we are going through that process. And I'm also happy to report, Mr. Chair, that our fundraising to date has reached over $10,000. And this is actually quite good because we do get a lot of donations through the mail. And of course, some of our regular donors have struggled with Canada Post. So these are mostly donations that have come through Canada Helps. And a few. So we'll look to see that increase, but we've raised over $10,000 to date with our our capital campaign. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
That's great. Thank you. Vice Chair Duguay.
Thank you, Chair Metcalf. Jeanette, Byersville Creek is a very significant project for the south end of Peterborough. The associated floodplain travels all the way from Matonabee River, Crawford Drive, all the way up to Parkway, all the way to Clonsilla. And I know it does impact, the existing floodplain does impact a number of residential properties, businesses, and proposed businesses. So whilst we have a public information center, my only suggestion would be we might want to consider an enhanced consultation because there's a very large geographical area. And if we limit ourselves to what I consider a typical PIC, and I intend those with, ministry, I think we all have with the MTO workshops and others, we may need to consider an enhanced consultation because it could be a thorny subject too for some property owners. But moreover, just ensuring we do get the message out and share what's happening arising from the project will be critical to the south end portion of our city, residents and business properties alike.
And through you, Mr. Chair, staff have already have that in progress.
I'm encouraged to hear that. And can you please make certain that I'm going to wear my other hat, but myself and my ward mate, Councillor Parnell, we're going to want to know of the information, the dates as soon as possible, please.
Thank you,
Thank
Vice Chair. That information will be passed along as soon as we know.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for CAO monthly report? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive it for information. Director Black, Director Baldwin, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moves us to item C2, 2024-070, our media highlights. Everything is fairly straightforward there in front of us. Director Black, I see you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the postings, through you, Chair, sorry, to CAO, with respect, it says Lakefield Campground Public Lottery. Can you explain how that works, or so in case Director Boyko and I get a call about how you get a site there? Because it sounds like it's a lottery.
Go ahead, CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yes, we are doing a lottery, and we have also shared all of our posts and communications with the township staff so that they can also help promote it. And so these are for seasonals. So we've had a number of seasonals for 2025 already give notice. And so we're looking to fill those seasonals starting in the new year for that season. So yes, and we also have more information on our website. So people can submit their name and their interest through that lottery process, and then in the new year they will be drawing those names.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Director Baldwin.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at that page there. I'm assuming that's a typo there, Lakefield Campground Public Library, as opposed to public.
Yes, it appears so.
Thank you.
I don't know how it appears like it was a tweet, so it's probably there and gone. I'm not too sure, but CAO will look at that one to see if
Thank
it can
you.
be addressed.
You'll
Any
keep
other
coming out.
questions or comments on our media highlights? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive for information. Director Baldwin's hand's still up, so we'll go ahead with that. Director Ashmore.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. It was just a legacy hand. I'll take it down, but happy to move it.
All those in favor to receive? And that is carried. Thank you. moves us on to correspondence. And we have our correspondence from Minister Smith, which CAO spoke about earlier in the meeting. Is there any further questions on that correspondence specifically? Seeing none, we'll just need a motion to receive. Director Wilford, Director Taylor, all those in favor? Oh, Director Huntley, do you have a question? Nope.
Nope,
I
it was a
think
gesture picked up.
I think that passed. Everyone was in favor of receiving that letter. Thank you. We have no closed sessions for this evening, and we have no open forum. That moves us to our future meetings. Our next board meeting is our annual general meeting. It'll be January 16th, in person, of course, at the Riverview Zoo and Park, the Rotary Education Room, same place as we were last year. CAO, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add to that one.
No, Mr. Chair, we're looking forward to having our normal recognitions alongside the business of the AGM on January the 16th.
Thank you. Just a reminder to everyone, I know the nominating committee is working hard to bring names forward. And if you're interested in either chair or vice chair, reach out to the nominating committee and they will bring all names that they receive forward to that annual general meeting. So that's that. Yes, Director Black.
Not putting my hand up for one of those, but just to confirm, it's 4 o'clock on the 16th.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That is. And the Autonomy Peterborough South Protection Authority meeting, we will see in the new year when we will meet again. That's all of our future meetings, and it brings us to our adjournment. I'd like to thank everybody for all of their participation over this last year. It's been, I think we got a lot done, and meetings went well, and everyone participated, and some good discussions. So I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays and Merry Christmas. We won't see anyone again until the new year, and we will see everyone at the annual general meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Director Boyko and Vice Chair Duguay, and all those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Board.
Everyone, see you
Thanks,
soon.
Mike.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.